Hello everybody, welcome to the shop. Doing some more work on the Pattin brothers, and every day we're getting a little bit closer. See, I got some oilers on there. I picked those up at the Cool Spring show and I shined them up and put them on. They look very nice. And what I'm working on now is all the gas lines. I'm doing the main gas inlet to the mixer and also the hot tube burner and chimney and gas lines for that. So I have this kind of mock set up very loosely just to make sure everything fits, and I'll explain to you how everything's going to work. In here is the main propane inlet. I'm going to regulate that to about 20 psi or so with a regulator and a 10-foot hose that's sitting over there. And then that tees off two directions. It tees off to this 11-inch water column pressure regulator. It also tees off to this small 1/4-inch line. That's going to go to the hot tube burner. You want a higher pressure for the hot tube burner. But the other side of the tee goes to that 11-inch water column regulator. Also goes to a gauge. It's a nice Ashcroft water column range pressure gauge. And that goes into a accumulator tank. I just made this out of an old 20-pound propane tank. You can work on these fairly easily. Just unscrew the propane valve and then fill the entire tank all the way up to the top with water, and that'll purge all of the propane gas that lingers in here. It'll purge it all out. Then you can safely cut, weld, grind, do whatever you want. And then the outlet goes to some plumbing, my diamond valve, and into the mixer. Now for the hot tube, I'm going to make my hot tube and hot tube burner. I used a Schedule 80 stainless steel 5-inch long pipe with a cap on it for my hot tube. You can buy these from a couple different people or make them, but I just decided to make it out of a piece of threaded pipe. I think that'll be just fine. This is my chimney. I made it out of a piece of 12-inch long iron pipe. That's maybe, I don't know, 2-inch or 2.5-inch iron pipe. And I welded these ears on there, and you'll see why in a minute. But it just goes down on there. And then I made this clamp to clamp down on those ears. I used a piece of probably 3.5-inch iron pipe, and I cut a strip out of it, and I welded these ears on there, welded a nut. You see what I did. I think it came out pretty damn well. And then it'll be used to clamp down on the ears just like that. Now the one thing that's missing here, of course, is the burner itself, and that's what I'm going to be doing now. So I got the hole drilled in there, and I have a piece of 1-inch pipe, I believe this is. Cut it to a proper length, and I ground a curve in it so it mates up to the pipe nicely. I also drilled these 2 holes here for the set screws to hold the burner tube in. I'm going to weld some nuts on there and then weld it onto the chimney itself. Okay, here it is all completed. Chimney's all done and the clamp is done. I have it clamping in a piece of pipe here, and this rough setup is eventually going to be the burner. I have a simple brass plug valve, elbow, bushing, going from 1/4-inch up to 1/2-inch NPT. And the plan is, this of course will be the metering valve, and in the male end of this elbow fitting here, I've threaded it, and I'm going to put a gas jet insert in there. I'm just going to make the insert out of a piece of 5/16 18 threaded rod, and that way I can experiment easily with different size gas jet orifices because I'm not entirely sure what size will be best. This way I can just drill a hole in it, thread it in, and if it burns well, good. If not, I can drill it out or make a new one. This will be where the air will come in. I'll drill a series of holes around here, and the Venturi effect of the gas rushing down the tube will also suck in air, mix the air and gas in the tube, and it will burn in the chimney. So here's the finished burner. Got all the air holes drilled. The only thing I haven't done yet is to make the jets. So I got some brass 5/16 threaded rod, and I made myself a jet. I filed 2 flats on it so I could use a wrench to screw it into the threaded hole in this elbow. And you see it's got a little hole in there. I would have liked to have drilled a smaller hole, but this is the smallest drill bit I own. It's a number 38 drill, I think. No, it isn't. No, it's 38 thousandths in diameter. Anyway, from the back side I drilled a large hole up until the very last, a couple threads worth of distance. Then I switched to the small drill, so you don't have to drill through that whole distance with such a small drill, because you're really risking breaking it off. So I think this jet might work. It's a little bit large, I think. I can always find a smaller drill bit. Well, the valve still isn't perfect. It doesn't leak externally, but even with the valve closed, I can still light the burner and it will burn. So this is going to need to be replaced. I'll have to find another one. Maybe just get like a needle valve or something. That might be better than this style valve. But anyway, you can hear it burning. I'm letting it go for a little while just to see if it does a good job of heating up the tube. And that's about it for the gas line. I got all the rest of the burner line squared away, of course. Got it just the way I want it. The low pressure regulator is working pretty nice. We're at right at, let's see, that's about 12 inches of water. And I have the high pressure regulator set to 15 psi. I suppose I could monkey with this higher or lower for whatever purpose if I need to maybe adjust the flame on the hot tube burner. We're just about ready to start it. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to try to start it now, because when I crank it over, even with the hot tube and everything out, no compression, on the downstroke, when the fuel air mixture in the back of the cylinder should be compressed, I can hear that compression leaking out the exhaust. So I think I'm just going to button this engine up as much as I can, bring it to the farm, and then belt up one of the flywheels to a tractor with a belt pulley and just crank it over for, a good 10 or 20 minutes or so to help those new rings seat. But for now, that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the first start.